one of the mitzvot between Adan ben Adan and Havero is in this last week's parasha, Parashat Kedoshim. It says, "Ochiach itamitecha, shlo tiseh alav het." You shall surely rebuke your friend, and you'll not bear a sin because of him. It means that a person has an obligation. If he sees a friend, sees another Jew doing a sin, he has to rebuke him. Now, rebuking doesn't mean to embarrass him and to insult him. Rebuking means informing him what sin he's potentially doing, and to help him to learn either he didn't know what he was doing and was not allowed, and to notify him, or even if he knows, to gently remind him that he should not be doing what he's doing, and that way we can save our fellow brothers from doing sins. The person has to know that he cannot do a sin because he wants to rebuke him. You cannot embarrass him, you cannot insult him just because you want to rebuke him. Therefore, a person has to do it with love, a person has to do it with gentleness. So a lot of times people think rebuking is with attacking. They think rebuke means to attack. It doesn't mean to attack. It can also mean to inspire, it also can mean to make somebody aware, and that, therefore rebuking means to help somebody not to do a sin. And also the pasuk says, and do not bear sin, meaning it's very important that we rebuke and say something, because if we don't say something, then it's going to be the sin is on us as well. The sages teach us whoever could have said something and they didn't, and the person did the sin because we didn't say anything, so therefore it's considered as if we did the sin as well. So if a person could see somebody dress immodestly and he didn't say anything, so it's considered as if he dressed immodestly also. A person saw somebody eat something not kasher, he saw somebody break Shabbat, he saw somebody do any sin, he had the influence on him, he could have stopped him, and he didn't say anything because he said, who am I? Or he said, I'm scared, I don't want to get involved in confrontations. And it's a mitzvah. He has to get up and push himself, because if you do not, it's considered as if you did it as well. So therefore, a person who's the owner of a household, he's a balabait, he has a family, his wife, his kids, everything they do is under his jurisdiction as well. So he has to pay attention to what they do and make sure he's on top of it, because you can't just say, it's their sin. No, it's also yours. It's considered as if you also did it if you could have said something. A person's a rabbi of a community, how much more so also everything the community does is also under his jurisdiction. He also has to be on top of what they're doing, and if he sees people doing something wrong, he also has to say something. It's very difficult sometimes. Sometimes you feel like you don't want to say anything, you don't want to get in uncomfortable situations, sticky situations, as they call it. But the Gemara says, what's a real rabbi? A real rabbi is when he tells to the community, he says to the people things they don't like to hear. He tells them the truth. He tells them what they're supposed to be doing. And this, that you have a rabbi that everybody loves him, and he doesn't say anything that makes the people uncomfortable, that's not a real rabbi, says the Gemara. It's like a puppet rabbi, it's a fake rabbi, when he just tells his nice chidushim, gematrias, and he doesn't tell them what they need to work on, he doesn't tell them to learn musar and to change, to be better people and stop doing sins. He just tells them what they like to hear. It's not a real rabbi, it's a puppet rabbi, fake rabbi. So therefore, what's a real rabbi? A person who gets up and tells them, Rabotai, let me inspire you. It doesn't mean he attacks them and tells them they're going to get home. It means that he inspires them, he teaches them why it's important to do the right thing, and even though it's a little bit uncomfortable, what? Because the mitzvah of rebuke means to go and help other people to stop them from doing sins. So a person has to make sure that he goes and checks himself in any situation in our lives. Who do we know and who do we have influence on? And even if the first time it didn't work, every single time we see the person doing it, you have an obligation, not one time, 2 times, 100 times even, to rebuke the same person about the same thing. You must say something to him. The Gemara says, to what point do I have to rebuke him? According to one opinion, until he hits you. According to another opinion, until he curses you. Another opinion, until he scorns you, until he gets upset with you. That's how much you have to rebuke somebody. You have to keep saying it. It's not allowed. Mehila, I'm sorry, it's not allowed. Even if it's annoying, even though he's still not listening to you, you have an obligation. There is in the laws of Yom Kippur, the Ramah talks about, the Maran also talks about if it's in a public congregation is doing something wrong and they're not listening to you, it's enough to say it one time. But by privately, when a person's one-on-one, he has to say it multiple times. There is a concept also of mutav shiu shogim v'ali muzidim. It's better they should not know, they do it not knowingly, better than they should do it purposefully. That, the Ramah explains, it's only about something that's not mefurash b'Torah. Only if something that's not explicit in the Torah, then okay, we say better that they don't know, better than they know. Better they should be not on purpose than they should be on purpose. But something that's explicit in the Torah, something that's outright in the Torah, we don't say such a rule. We say, you must say anyways, you must say regardless, and they should know, and you should tell them, ignorance is not bliss. So therefore, a person has to know that we have an obligation to rebuke our fellow friends, and this way, it's not just some people become religious and some don't, rather everybody grows together because we're all a nation, we're all brothers, we're all connected to one another. When one person sins, it doesn't mean only affected himself, he affected the whole community. So therefore, the whole community has to care for one for another, for both, for physically and spiritually.